Hello and welcome to another Wargame Red Dragon tutorial video with me, Bubblebox, and today we're going into the second campaign tutorial of the two campaign tutorials, so we're completing it today. Now in the last one we looked mainly at the strategic map and all the different things to do with the strategic map, and today we're going to be looking at the strategic tactical matchup. Now on the strategic map you can see all these arrows, and these arrows have got a blue one here, a blue one here, and a blue and red one up here. These correspond to a tactical map reinforcement zone. So if we have a look at the tactical map just by going show map and clicking on a region, Daegu, you can see that Zhoushan has a reinforcement zone, Yongdok has one, Busan has one, and Yuchang has one. If we have a quick look at the map, four reinforcement zones, and they correspond to the four roads, and we've got one here, one here, one here, and one here, and they correspond to those four regions on the tactical map. So therefore strategic movements greatly influence tactical battles. Now if we have another look at the tactical map, we'll see that this sector is initially held completely by us, the South Koreans, and that's because we're the only ones with units on this particular sector. Now if the North Koreans move some units into Daegu along this road here to the west, then if I go back quickly to this section, then they will then have control of Zhoushan, and we will still have control of these other four sectors. So they will be able to deploy their units in Zhoushan, and we will be able to deploy all of our units in these other four sectors. Now after the battle, so you have to just imagine a battle has occurred, and after the battle, the side which controls the tactical zones still controls the same tactical zones at the start of the next turn. So for example, if there was a bit of a stalemate and the North Koreans managed to hold on to Zhoushan and we managed to hold on to our four zones, then at the beginning of the next turn we would still have these four zones and they would still have that. However, if they managed, for example, to push us out of Bravo and Yondeok, and they managed to get a command onto these two zones and keep a command on Zhoushan, and we managed to keep our commands on Yuchang and Busan, then they would have control of these three and we would have control of these two at the beginning of the next turn, and it goes on from there. However, if one side retreats or routes, then they lose control of the zones that are controlled, they controlled before routing, and at the next turn the side that won would then take control of the whole of this tactical map. So if you make them rout and push them completely out of their sectors, then you have control of the whole region. So if we go back to the strategic map and make some movements, I'll show you that in action. So we've got, if we look at Daegu, we've got logistics, some logistics stuff there. We've got an infantry regiment with some infantry and some recon. Pretty much that's all. So we could support them maybe with some tanks and some aircraft perhaps, and some anti-air as well. That will create quite a large force in there, and then we could stick our other units over there somewhere and give them some air support over there, and maybe give them some recon up there, and we'll leave our other battle group in defending Busan with the logistics units. Now if you then press the end turn, then the AI will have its movement turn. So we'll let the AI move, and you can see it moving its pawns around, and it's moved units and attacked into a number of different regions, and it will go to the region where it first wants you to undertake a tactical battle. Now once this comes up, and I'll tell you what all these things mean in a moment, you can go back to the strategic map just to have a quick look what's going on just by clicking on show map at the bottom of the screen here, so you can have a quick overview as to exactly where the AI moved all its units to and how you're going to defend and stuff like that. So if we go back to this to Daegu by clicking on the back button, then we can have a look at what happened in the battle. Now before I do this, when a battle breaks out in a sector, it's important to know that all of the battle groups take part as long as they undertake certain conditions. First of all, there's at least one operational command among the pawns. So we've got an operational command in here, we've got we've got loads of commands for the enemy, and we've got quite a lot of commands here. Secondly, the pawns that are part of the faction that starts the battle have at least one initiative. So the ones that started this battle were the North Koreans. So any units of theirs, so these three battle groups here, must have at least one initiative point left in order to take part in this particular battle. However, the defenders can take part even if they have 0 initiative points. So my battle groups here wouldn't even have to have any initiative points, and they would all be able to take part in this battle because they are the defenders. So it's important to be particularly careful when, for example, using units with 2 initiative points, since a move will cost you 2 initiative points. So if you're moving like a heavy unit, so sort of armoured and stuff like that, normally have 2 initiative points, and if you move them in a big battle group into a new region, they weren't going to be able to fight in that particular battle. Lighter battle groups can, however, generally fight and move, because most of them have got 3 initiative points, and things like planes and that have got a lot more than that, so they can, you know, as long as they don't travel too far, they can generally take part in battles as well. So what about the battle system? Well, battle groups that take part in a battle, and we've got 5 battle groups in our army here, they pool their cohesion and morale points. So they form basically one very large force, and you can see all the units in your force if you scroll up and down. And if their morale points are affected by the enemy and they rout, all of these pawns that take part in the battle at the same time will rout as well. So if one routs, they all rout, because they're all pooling their morale, they're all going to rout together. Now if we have a look at the different bits and pieces on this screen, if we have a look at the bonus for cohesion first of all, you can see we've got a bonus of 4 and we get plus 4 points. And this is the number of command points received every 4 seconds. And these are added to the cohesion of all the battle groups that take part in the battle. So for example, all of these together must have 4 cohesion points basically, and the enemy actually gets 5 from their 3 battle groups. Of course, these are also added to the number of points that you will get for holding your regions in the tactical battle as well. The starting command points, and here we've got 1200 and the enemy's got 1250. These are the number of command points you have at the start of your battle, i.e. that you can bring in units with. The total value of the forces is, as it says, the combined forces from all the allied battle groups that take part in the battle. So we've got 6,050, and they've actually only got 2,900, so it's looking pretty good for us in this battle. Now the forces morale here, and we've got 2 points which makes up 20% morale. They've got 3 points which makes up 30% of morale. So these again are the combined morale points of all the battle groups, and then they enable you to define the percentage of combined forces that you must destroy by the enemy must be destroyed by the enemy to force a retreat. So we've got to destroy in fact 30% of their units, 30% of their 2,900, and they've got to destroy 20% of our 6,050. So the score the enemy must obtain in order to defeat all of the battle groups in our case is 1,210, and in their case we've got to defeat 800. We've got to get 870 points worth of deaths. Now one note to that is that there is a limit which has a top value of 4,000 points, and no faction can exceed this limit of destruction points. So once that reached, the game's over. So that's pretty much explained this. So then you can either launch the battle, and you can take part in the battle in the tactical battle as you would in a skirmish or in a multiplayer game. You can avoid the battle, and that means that all of your units will retreat into a friendly sector if there is a friendly sector, or you can auto-resolve it and the computer will decide who the winner is. Now I'm not going to go and launch the battle and play through a whole tactical battle. If you want to do that, you can look at some of the commentary videos. I'm just going to auto resolve this so we can have a look at the victory types. So the computer decided that on balance we would get a minor victory out of that. Now in a minor victory, basically the victors, which is us, have obtained their target points, which we had to obtain to defeat the enemy, and the defeated have obtained less than 90% of their points as well. Sounds a bit complicated, but it makes sense. So you can either have a total victory or a total defeat, and in that the victors have obtained their target points and the defeated have obtained less than 30% of theirs. Then you can have a major victory or a minor victory, with which the percentages sort of generally go down, up or down, depending on whether you're the victor or you're the defeated. You can also have a tie. So if one camp has obtained its target points but the other has obtained 90% of their points, so it's very, very close, in other words, you can get a tie. Also, if no camp obtains its target points, then the battle always ends in a tie after a 20-minute time period, and whatever the amount of points obtained by the opponent, and then the battle would continue over into the next next turn. Now you can also see that as a consequence of our minor victory up here, our forces actually get a gain of 1 morale point because we've got a minor victory, and a loss of 1 cohesion due to fatigue from combat. And indeed, taking part in a battle will always cost every battle group 1 cohesion point, even if the group is victorious. The outcome of the battle also has an impact on the morale. Of course, we got 1 morale for this. Now if you get a total victory, the battle groups will get a +2 morale. If you get a major victory, they'll get a +1. A minor victory, they'll get a +1. If it's a tie, they don't get any. If they get a minor defeat, they don't lose any morale. If they get a major defeat, they lose 1 morale. And if they get a total defeat, they lose 1 morale as well. So the enemy in this case had a minor victory. So they didn't actually lose any morale, but they did of course lose their cohesion for taking part in that particular battle. So how do you actually completely destroy a battle group? Because these ones here clearly have probably been routed and pushed back into their zone, so they've lost a number of units. You can see the ones that they've lost down here, and the number that they've actually still got left. And we've lost a few units as well, as you can see in grey there. We lost a number of units which are removed and won't be able to take part in the next battle. Now, so how do you completely destroy a battle group? Well, you can completely destroy a pawn in several ways. You can either destroy enough of its tactical points. You can inflict a total defeat during a tactical battle if the enemy has no allied sectors in which it can withdraw into, so it's got nowhere to go, in other words, or you intercept the enemy when they are actually routing. Also remember that a routing pawn will be destroyed if it finds itself in the same sector as an enemy pawn, and the only exception to this rule is if the pawn crosses paths with a friendly non-routing pawn. The routing pawn is protected by its friends if they have insufficient numbers. For example, 2 friendly non-routing units protect a pawn against 2 enemy pawns in the same sector. I hope that's clear. So I think there's only one other thing I want to talk about in this, as far as the campaign, and that's a situation called Alamo. So this is a particular situation whereby a camp is isolated in the middle of the map. So for example, there could be some units that are, or a battle group that's in Bravo and is completely surrounded by everyone else. Now this can happen if you land a helicopter or para battle group, basically just lands somewhere on the map and an enemy zone, or if a camp's battle group routes or retreats but one pawn is left. behind that has not taken part in the battle, perhaps because it lacked enough initiative points, for example, then this pawn will have to fight the battle in the Alamo configuration during the next turn. Also, if a battle ends and one camp holds no tactical sectors but does not rout or retreat, then this camp again starts the next turn in the Alamo configuration. So it's a little bit unusual, but it can occur, especially if you drop perhaps paras or helicopters into an enemy zone somewhere. So I think that's pretty much it for the campaign tutorials. I hope you got something out of these two tutorials and you have some idea about what's going on in the campaign. But again, the best thing is to play through a campaign or play through a couple of campaigns and then maybe come back to the tutorials and have another look at them so that you can sort of understand the system completely. So thanks for watching, guys. Please do comment, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.